Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Chris. I am one of the founders of the Udo Web Builder. Joining me today here is also is Ross on um, on this call, and we're going to go through how to edit and add pages to your website. If you have any questions, you can write them down in the chat, and otherwise we'll get to them towards the end. So there's a bit of a history of it, of the Udo product, the Udo Web Builder product. So I've been developing it for around about 10 years, and it was all about giving control to the people whose website it is to actually update their own website and adjust things and create new web pages and put things on the web. So our motto is, we simplify the web for business. And that also applies to artists and many other people. So just to reiterate, if you can't find the chat box in your Google Meet, down the bottom corner, there'll be a small rectangle with a little speech bubble sort of shape to it, and that is where you can open up the chat if you have any questions during the presentation. So we're going to start today on how to create a page. We've got our demo site here, which is and we need to get to the admin of it. So we need to go to the admin URL. So that's /admin/ in case you've forgotten. I've already logged in. It may ask you to log in if you haven't logged in recently. It does remember you logging in for a period of time. And now to get to the pages area, click on the content menu on the left and go to pages. This lists all the web pages that are in your site. And there are other pages for things like news posts, artworks, exhibitions, portfolios, and that sort of thing. But the pages area here are the general information pages. Everything's edited the same way on the system, so it doesn't matter whether you're adding information to an exhibition, a page, an email message, it all works the same way. So we're just going to use the pages area today. Now at the top here, there's some tools. The plus button here is to create a new page, and everything else is to do with what you have selected. So if I select one of these pages, I can open it for editing, or I can delete it, or I can disable it. And you can see here this exhibitions page and this homepage blocks page are currently disabled. They've got a pause symbol on, so this means that no one can see them on the website anymore. If anyone tries to visit them, they'll just get a page not found message. So this lets you edit pages privately, or when you're working on something and you're not ready for them to be seen by everyone who accesses your website. We can also, if we start a new page, the first thing we need to do is give the page a name. So this doesn't have to be the title of the page. It just needs to be a name that the page is referred to on your site. It'll also be the name that would appear if this page is added to a menu. So I'm just going to call this a demo page. So as soon as I've done that, we can see now I've got a draft of this page. So this page is not visible to the world yet, and I can start making changes to it and start adding information and content to it inside a draft. And then once we're ready to go live, then it will be visible to the world. So if I want to add some content to the page, I need to take the page into design mode. So once I've got design mode up, there will be a dotted rectangle where I can start adding information to the page. So generally, for pages like this that are the full width, where we might want to have something side by side or just break up some text, because we don't really want text to be the full width of the page. It's very hard for people to read when there's 20, 25 words in a line. It's hard for the eye to track back to the next start of the next line. So if we use a panel, we can, the panel has the ability to control its width. So we can add a column. Now we've got half of the page on one side and half of the page on the other side. So from inside the column again, we can click to add. So we'll add in here a heading. And then scroll down. Below the heading, we might add some text. So we can add a text block. So this text block also allows the text to be formatted. in different ways. So we can have a list of items. So if we highlight these in the list style here, we can choose a numbered list, so they have numbers, or we can choose a bulleted list with just the points. If you press enter on an empty list item or backspace over it, it'll get rid of it to get out of the list view. So you could add some more text below that. And then there's there's also the ability from in the text editor to highlight text and link it to a page or another website or a PDF or some other item in your website. So maybe an artwork or a form or something else. So once we click link to, it's asking us what item we want to link it to. So we could link it to our Facebook page. So this green item is an external link to Facebook. And once we've linked that, we can then see here what it's linked to. We can also choose here whether we want it to open in a new window. And so by default, if you're going off site, it will do that, but you can override that when required. Now, if you're linking to file, change this link to, it should be a PDF. You'd have a file in here, I just don't know. So now when I've linked to a file, I also get the option for people to download that file. So this is linked to a PDF file. And so clicking this link will open the PDF up into another browser tab. And I can override that to say, now I want them to download that file to the computer. So it's just a few, so all the link settings are done from in here. Now there are a few other options when you're linking. You can link to an action, and that action might be to say, go back to the last place someone was. So we could have some message at the top here to return previous page, link to action, then go back. Now it's going to go back to where they came from to get to this page. And one other thing you can do is link to an anchor. So an anchor is a position in the page. Once I've added some more content to this, I'll come back to that. And it basically lets you have a link that scrolls up or down the page to a different part of the page. So that's another thing that add another element on this right column, add an image. So straight away, this is going to show me all the images that I already have uploaded to this site. Choose one by double clicking. It's a very big image, or there's something wrong with it. No, it's just a big one. So now that we have this image in here, we can also link that image to something. So this might be a promotional image. You want to link it to a category or a product or another page in the site. Same thing, link to item. I'm going to choose an exhibition here. So we might want this to open in a new window so that people don't lose, they can come back to this spot later, or leave it as the same window or automatic. With images, we can also apply force an aspect. So this basically will prop the image to a particular shape. So what we can do here is say we want it to be square. So one width for one height. And so as you can see, the image is now a square, like a rectangle, a square, no longer a rectangle. Or we might decide, no, we just want to take the top half or something. We want to make the image just a slice. So there the width would be much higher than the height, so maybe 3 to 1. And now we get a slice. And we can use this 4-way arrow in the middle by dragging it to reposition where that slice is taken out of the image. And then we click Save Position, and it will remember that for when it displays the image. You can also change the opacity of the image. It starts off at 100%, and you can basically, it's making it more and more transparent. So if we had a color behind the image, then it would start taking on that color. So it's obviously starting to take on white as we go down through the opacity. So if we wanted to tint that, say, blue or green or something, if we add a panel, put the image inside the panel, and then we can set the style of the panel to have a color. So if we use this red, and if we set the panel to have no padding, so now the image will take up the full area of the panel, and the other thing we need to do is remove the padding at the top. Now this image will have a red tint to it by using the opacity slider. So more or less. So if we go out of the design mode and look back at the preview, using the design pencil here, we can now see what that would look like on the website. And so now we can see we've got a nice red tint. That was nice, but we have a red tint, the apocalypse to that image. Maybe it's a little too. And this can work quite well with blacks and greys to darken an image, or white behind it to lighten an image. So if we put black behind it, then we can do, you know, a darker tinted version of the image, potentially to you know, take away from that. And then if we wanted to add something else there, some text or something, it would make the text stand out much more. Another element we can add to a page is a button. By default, the button starts off the full width of wherever it is. However, we can also align that. So we can have it just sitting on the left or just sitting on the right or centered, and then it will just be the width of whatever its label is. So set the label through the text button. We can also change the style, which sets the colors. And we can edit these and create new ones if we want different colors or different styles. But this lets you use the same colors and styles consistently through the site. So all the green buttons will be the same shade of green with the same style. So this one looks like it has a radius as well. So the buttons have a rounded corner, and that's all done through there. We can also put an icon on the left or the right or both. So if we choose a right icon, maybe we want like an arrow pointing to the right, or a tick, something else, this one, and that adds that icon there. So it gives your buttons a bit more of a direction and interest to people. There's also separators. Separators start off just as a horizontal line. Go over to design views, see it. No, it's a bit difficult. It's right at the bottom. What I'm going to do is just copy this button below so we can see it's not stuck to the footer. So if I want to copy something, I can drag it, and when it's over this red dotted area, it's going to move there. And if I hold down the Alt key while dropping it, and it will copy there. And so now I've got a copy of that button, and I can make any changes I need to make to it. And so that line in between is the separator. We can highlight that line and change it just to be a spacer. So it no longer has a line, it's just adding more gap between two elements. So if things are too close together or touching each other and you want a gap, we can use the separator, switch it to be a spacer, and it provides some space around above and below elements. You can use panels to do the same thing, but to the left and the right. So you can see this panel has a small gutter on both sides. So if we then put an image inside that, and if we make this button full width again, so we can see the difference. So we can see between this button and this panel, there's a small gutter. So that you can customize that. So we have the normal padding, we have no padding, whether the panel is, the contents of the panel is the same width and height as the area that it's within, or we can customize that padding. And so if we, in here, we can increase the gutter, and we can also increase it on different screen sizes. So if we make that something like 60, at the moment it's linked X and Y. So if I adjust this left side, it'll adjust the right side automatically. So if I make this 90, the right becomes 90. And the top and bottom are linked. So if I put 15 at the top, it puts 15 at the bottom. We also unlink them if we wanted to have the left different to the right or the top different to the bottom. So now we can see there's quite a large gap there. And so this, again, can be used to highlight things or bring things in. And also if you have like a panel with a style to it, maybe a light gray, then lets, it can give breathing room between the edge of the grey and where the content is. So if we had a heading in there, and we didn't have that gap, the start of the T is going to be right on the edge of the grey, and it can, if you had no padding at all, and it can look a bit busy and confused. There's also columns. The difference between a panel and a column is I can apply a style to a particular column. So I could have one side black and the other side light, for instance. Just put something. So this, and so it's a convenience for doing where you want to have multiple different colors. Otherwise, the panel is all about the style of the panel it takes on the color for the entire contents of the panel. And even if we did add another column, it's still got the same style, same background, etc. This is probably a bit extreme, but if you did want to have a light grey or some other tint behind something, but not behind all of it, then that's where the column can come in quite handy. Now that we've got a fair bit of content on this page, what we could do is if we added an anchor, say down here. So an anchor is a place the browser can scroll to. We can give it a name, just call it bottom for this example. Then up the top here, we could have a button or anything. Anything could be linked to the anchor. The anchor is bottom. And so this could be see the last item, or maybe it's a offer or something that you want people to get down to. And so, we could have a down, something pointing down as part of that button label. And now when people click on that, it's going to take them down to this part of the page. So what we can do, we've got a few options when we're saving the page. I just want to save it so we can actually show it on the website. So if I save the draft, it's still, the page will remember my changes, but it's not going to be visible to people coming to the site. I want to go live so that I can see what it looks like on the actual website. So I go live and it will close. And then I've reopened it to edit. I can use this button here to open the live page up, and this will show me this will take me to that page in a separate tab. So I've got this see the last item. That's going to scroll the page down to make sure I can see where the anchor is on the page. And we can have another one to go back up if needed. So this can be quite handy as if you've got a table of contents on a very long page and you've got 3 or 4 items or sections that you want people to be able to get to really quick and easily. Otherwise, we've got one of these buttons. So this is the file one. So it's not set to download, it's opening up that PDF file. If we set it to download, it will download to the computer. And then we've got go to the previous page. Now that's not going to work right now because I just opened a new window. It's not going to know where to go back to because can't click back here either. But if I did come from one of the other pages, that would let me go back to where I was. So we can see the dark tint through here, and also the fact that images being cropped. And then we've got our grey panel here, and see how we've got this green button and touching the grey panel. We could use a separator in there just to give some room between those two elements. So if we click here, add a separator, change that to be a spacer, so we no longer have that line. If we wanted to see it, go live again, and those changes will be live. Whenever you go live, a new version of the page is created. So in the history here, we have our initial version of the page that I created, and then we've got the update that I did to it by adding that separator. So we can preview the previous version of the page. Again, the button is touching the grey box. And if we wanted to, we could publish that, and that then would undo the changes above it. It would make this the live version, and then there'll be 3 versions of the page. So now I have still got the change here with the space, but the new, if we look at the current page, it's no longer got the gap. And if we preview the intermediate version, so this just gives you the flexibility and confidence to go and edit something, and if it doesn't work out, you can easily go back, and even when you go back, you could still come back to this and try and fix it up at a future point, provided you remember that you've got that change in there that you weren't happy with. Now, there's many other elements we can add to the page. Some of the other more handy elements in here will be, you can use it as a quote block. So this lets you have like quotation marks and a different font around a quote, and the font is set by the site settings themselves, so you don't have to worry about that. So if we look at that, you can see here, so we've got a quote style, and that style can be customized to suit your site, but then it lets you break text out of a larger body of text and have it something interesting. And there's a similar block, it's called statement, which does the same thing. It's just, it gives you a different font, so it's something that's a bit different. Maybe it's a bit bigger, maybe it's a different font family, to break up areas and bring out interesting facts, that type of thing. If you need a table block, so it starts off with just two columns, and so we can use the plus buttons up here. We can add a row, to add a row after, before, a column before or after, or a table row before or after. So we can just keep adding rows or columns. And so, yeah, there's certain times where you need a grid of information. Maybe it's a information about specific items, or a cost breakdown or something like that. When you could do it in a text editor, but it's much easier in the table. You can also copy and paste from spreadsheet software like Excel if you already have the information there, and it will automatically populate into a grid format instead of just sort of making it all text and messy. This works the same way as a text editor. There's the ability to link items, some basic formatting tools, and we have a import function for importing data if it's in text format and it's not actually in a spreadsheet. This tool can help try and figure out how to make it a spreadsheet, like a table. Sorry, I won't go further into that right now. We can add a video that's already on the site, and this will ask us to choose one. So this puts video straight in, or we can drag from YouTube a video directly into a page, or Vimeo if you have a video uploaded to Vimeo. So if we just take one of these pages, videos, go back to our site, drop it here, just straight away in there, ready to go. There is the ability to autoplay. So an autoplay video means as soon as someone visits this page, the video will start playing. Some browsers and mobile devices do block that. And you probably don't want to do it unless it is the main focus of the page. Like if you've got a video that's further down outside of the field of view, it's just going to frustrate people when they're like, why is this browser, playing sound or whatever. But if that's the reason they're going to that, then yeah, great, have it autoplay. They can see it straight away. They don't have to click anything more. There is also the ability so that's in the embed mode, also pop-up mode. And so we need to choose a picture. And then what would happen is when I click on that picture, so you probably want to take a snapshot of the video and add a play button to it. When we click on that picture, it will then pop open to play that video in a Lightbox. Show you what that looks like. So here we've got the demo that I chose, the demo image. Obviously, that would be a play button or something. So then, yeah, we get the video full screen ready to go to play in a Lightbox to play, much larger than where it is embedded on the page. And then there's a few other options around the opacity of the video and whether the playback controls are showing. So that hides the play button. The scrubbing bar at the bottom can be useful sometimes just to remove the distractions from the video. The grid is also another useful block. So where we had a panel before and it had 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 areas to add content to. The grid only has one, but then it puts each item, so if we add an image, puts each item into a grid, so then we can add another image. And this way they're all the same. And they will wrap once you've got a full line of them. I'll just copy one of these to play with. So the grid, we can add or remove the number of items that are on each row. So make them quite small or much less of them and make them all the way up to single item per row. Now the single item per row is much more useful on the different screen sizes. So I think it's time to talk about the mobile versus the tablet and desktop view. So we've been editing this desktop view, which is what you would see on a laptop or a desktop computer. If you were on a mobile device, the page layout would be more in this format here, where it's all in a single line at the moment, and we can adjust that for different things. So you scroll down to the grid, we might decide actually we want two items per row for these images on the grid, and so that is set just for this mobile view. For in tablet, it's got its own one, so it's set to 3 at the moment. So we could also make that 2, and then 3 on the desktop. And so with the columns here, this panel with the split half and half, it's the same thing. So if we're in mobile view, we can resize that and we can have that split in half, which doesn't normally make sense, but occasionally it does. But generally, there's not enough room to put too much side by side on mobile. However, if it's something smaller that's a feature, it's that black and white, so this column here, and you definitely wanted this to be side by side, we can change the resize split so that it is side by side. And again, that's just for mobile. And then we need to look at tablet as well. And it is good just to preview your page. So turn off the design and make sure you are happy with the way it is looking across the different devices if you are building a new page, just to make sure there's no awkward sizing of anything. Sometimes the more the awkward one tends to be tablet. The system will sort of have a best guess as to what it thinks is a good split. But it doesn't always get it right. So it is worth just checking, and you might decide, you know what, I want that left column to be a bit bigger than the right column. Or I can keep pushing it all the way to the end and it will push everything down below. You can also change whether it's below or above with the sort of the columns. So if I bring column 2 to the start, then the stuff that was in the right column is now at the top, and the stuff that was in the left column down here is at the bottom. We get back to the desktop view, you can see that this demo page stuff's still all in the left column, but when we're on the tablet view, it's now below. So it's very helpful if the text is on the right and there's imagery or something on the left, and you want the text, the heading of the page to pop up above the image, then that's where that sorting of the columns can help get the right column to come first on the mobile or the tablet view. When you highlight an image, there is an extra special link item. You can link to open the image in the Lightbox. So when someone clicks on it, they'll be able to see that image full screen in the Lightbox. So if we did have, now when someone clicks that, they'll see a full screen version. And if you give a group of images the same Lightbox group name, then you'll get like a thumbnail slider across here. So if we just do this, so because I've got 4 of those images with the same name now. When I open the Lightbox up, all the images of the same group name will end up as part of the navigation system inside the Lightbox here, so we can click through them all. Now we've decided, there's some content in a different page that we would like to use in this page. So say open up Projects page. Well, there is. Say we wanted this paragraph of text over on the new demo page we've created. I can drag this, pop over to this page. So just wait up here until it switches and then bring this back down. And I can place that in anywhere there's a dotted line, and it will copy that content from the page I had open into this page. So now I've got exactly what that is. And that can work for anything. So I could take a group of elements, a single element. I can take this panel, which has everything inside of it. Like there's a bunch of different items, content items inside of it. I can drag this, switch to the other page that I was editing, drag down to scroll down, and then place that, say, in this gap here. So I've got the panel, the heading, the text, the separator, and also the image filter. And so it can be very handy when you are writing a newsletter or something and you've already written a description or information in an exhibition or a product or an artwork page, and you want to reuse that as an announcement for it. Highlight it all up and drag it. And you can also take text from the front of the website. So I could take this text, or anyone's website, doesn't have to be this website. Again, hover over the tab till it changes, find a Dropbox dotted line box to drop it in, and it will insert it. It will remove the formatting and font colors and anything like that, and just bring it back to plain text and that matches your website style. So if it's from a different document or email or something, you can do the same thing. It will automatically do its best to tidy up the styling of it. There's also a few other elements that are embeddable elements. So we have an audio player if you've got sound files that are uploaded to your website. And it's just a very simple, I need to choose a file, which I don't have it. No, I don't have any uploaded. But just a very simple player. It's just a play button and a little scrubbing bar and a time remaining. We also have the ability, if you've got custom code from a tracking applet or some other outside CRM or something where you need to insert some custom code or some into a particular page, you can use the custom code block. In here, you choose what sort of code that you're putting in, and then you just copy and paste, and it's in there. Yeah, okay. The only other, I suppose, interesting blocks are the form block, which lets you embed one of the site forms that are already in there, so maybe a contact or an inquiry form onto the page. And there's also the embedding of maps as well. So if you wanted to we need to set an address, so put in an address. Obviously, a more specific address is probably better, but then you'll get a Google map of that. So if you've got the location of something that's happening, you can drop a map in there. And you can also turn on the directions, and then when the map's displayed on the website, there'll be a get directions button for people to navigate there. There's a few other options to play with. So often building a page from scratch, you don't really need to worry about it. Generally, there'll be a page or some other item that's close to the format that you're looking for. Yeah. So we're going to take this page and do something with it, or maybe even you just want to make a second version of it to try something out. Up next to the save button, there's duplicate. If you're on a smaller screen, it may not show up here. You'll have to access it from this 3-dot menu. It's the same function. But basically, only a certain number of items will fit here, and if you've on a tablet or a mobile, the tools up here will be only available in the 3-dot menu. So in here we can duplicate. Yeah, it keeps it consistent as well. Yeah. So very quickly we can build up a very similar page. Now, if the thing to keep in mind is that the name will always be replaced with copy of what the original name was. So you will need to go and adjust that to whatever it's going to be. And obviously the title bar and summary need to be updated as well to reflect the contents of the page that we've just copied. Now, when we do a copy of a page, the About page is on the menu, but the copy won't be. And so if you do want to include that on the menu, or if it's inside a category or something else, same thing, we'd have to reconnect that to the category or the menu that it was used to be connected to, or that you need it connected to. So from linked items, I can add a menu link. And so which menu? The main menu. And now this will be available on the main menu. So if we go back to the demo site, we now have the About page and the About Me page. They're obviously very similar. It's just the images that are different. So this can get you 95% of the way to a new page with just a little bit of copy and paste and maybe change an image or two rather than having to build from scratch each time. One other thing that I think is worth talking about is the slider block. Generally, we use them on some home pages just to add a bit of dynamic information. Now you have multiple slides that have content within them. What you can do is add additional slides. So we could add a new slide. So there's nothing in the slide, so we need to choose something, put an image or a video in there, or some text. It's not restricted. What's this? Okay, so this is added some brush strokes or something. And if we wanted that to be the initial slide that people see when they first visit the homepage, we can actually take this slide and drag it to the front of the queue. And so we might want to remove this slide because we no longer want it anymore. So we click the remove button. Now, if there's something inside the slide, it will be removed as well. But that's not the same necessarily removing other things from the system. If we say remove this panel, it will just remove the panel and it'll leave all the things that were inside the panel so you can decide what to do with them later. If we now you can click close without saving any time, just closes, doesn't ask you to save, doesn't offer you a second chance, it's just you're back to where you were. So it might be worth regularly saving things if you are doing a lot of changes. So if you accidentally close it, you don't lose anything. If we did want to remove this panel and all of the things inside of it, we need to hold down the Alt-G when we click remove. And then it's going to ask us, do we want to delete what we've got selected and the 3 blocks inside of it? It's a bit of a sanity check. Sometimes you see a big number there and you're like, that's not what I was expecting. I better check what I've got selected. If I delete that, everything's gone. The text, panel, and all the contents of the panel. So that's a bit different for the slides when you're removing slides. So if I want to just change an image, so rather than adding a new one, so I still want just 4 slides, but I want to change this main, on board of the boat, I'll change it to something else. I click on the image itself, highlight it with the orange highlight, change image, and then choose a new one. So we put in this building or something for something different. And again, because this slider has a force aspect, and we can see here it's different for different screens. So on the desktop, it's like a slice, and then as you get towards mobile, gets more and more square. So because it's sliced, I get the ability to change the position. So maybe I want a bit of street in it, or maybe I just want the sky, and I can save that position. And if I go to mobile view, I can then position the mobile like the square, where the square is going to be. Go to tablet, again, I can position where it is on this shape cut out. And so they all have their own positioning because they're a different amount of the image that's showing. So now we're back to desktop. One other thing to keep in mind too that can be a little tricky is if I add a new slide, see where the orange box is? It's right below the dotted area. If I add a new slide and I add a new image to that slide, by default, the image is going to have a little gap at the top called top padding. So this button here controls it. We will need to make sure it's the same as the other slides. If it's so the other ones are set to none. If this one is set to normal, then what will happen is the slider will look like it's jumping up and down. So we've got the first image, we've got the second image, third image, fourth image, and suddenly it's jumped down, gap at the bottom. So that the way to avoid that is just make sure that all your slides are the same. So whatever your first slide is, set to top pad none. This one should be top pad none. And that way the slider itself is not going to be, the images inside that slider are not going to be jumping up and down. Now these images, the slider itself has a few basic options, how long it takes to slide, so 5 seconds at the moment on this one. So it's set to fade, or you can have it slide. So it would slide across in slide mode, and fade is obviously just a crossfade. And then there are some ability to control these arrows and things. So there is inside the style here, there's a style for this. If we edit this style, we can, there's arrows, there's dots at the bottom that you can use to navigate. And so this is styling them, the colors, the sizes, and then we actually need to turn the dots on, which is an option here somewhere. I can't see right now, I don't know why. There's other things, but I think that's the main things you need to be aware of. So if we wanted to speed up this slider automatically sliding, so we can change the interval down to 2 or 3 seconds, which might give everyone a bit of a headache if it's too fast, but yeah. So it's a bit more dynamic. Well, it's probably too fast, but it does take a little longer the first time it slides, but after that, off it goes. Again, we can look in the history here. I actually don't like those changes I did. I'll go back to the way it was and publish this version. Now, all my changes are undone. Back to the blue waves. So have we got any questions, Ross? Okay. So say we're in this about page, there's an existing image here, and we want to make it a different size. So there's a few things we can do. If we're happy with the aspect ratio of it, so we can change it to be square, or change it to be a slice, or even over square. So say 2 by 3. Let's make it a vertical rectangle. But that's one way of doing it, which that's still going to fill up the entire width of the space that it's in. So if I move this out to the total page area, all of a sudden I've got this huge image, and it's probably going to be, because it's blown up to a degree to cut that shape out of it, it's probably going to be a little bit grainy and not so nice for people to look at. So that's one option. I'll put that. Another option is to surround it in a panel to add some more padding to it to make it smaller or take up less room. And the final option is to change the alignment of the image. Now, by default, all images are set to fill, but you might want to, say, right align it. And once you right align or left align or center, you'll see a small little handle appear on the image here. And then we can use this handle to set the largest we would like that image to be. And so we can bring that over. Potentially, if it's in the left column here, between these two items, and you wanted it smaller, then we can bring this handle in to wherever we think, and then the image will be at most that big. And if, as the screens and everything get smaller, it may push that image a little bit smaller, but that it won't get any bigger than that is the takeaway from that. If you did want to have it, say, on mobile even smaller again, or a different image or something else, there is the ability to hide and show particular elements on different screens. So we could turn this off for mobile and tablet and have a different image appear in there. So it's still visible on the desktop, but we could show a different version of it on the mobile view. Does that answer your question?
So should we allow each side view? The mode area and I side for this today. Actually, music worked. So yes, you can.
Yeah, and so as we're saying with the editing of the design does work the same way, but there are a lot of elements in the design that are a little bit different in terms of this is not the final page. So it's got like a content area where the page itself will sort of go, and it's got a left navigation bar here with a bunch of different stuff in it. Now, you can definitely swap between these, but just keep in mind that we've probably tailored the one that your site's currently using to you and your color scheme and your brand and everything, and switching between them might mean some of those changes need to be reapplied or updated on that design that you want to change to.
Around the stage.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so we'll just click onto an area where we want the slider. So maybe this top area here, the full width, let's click onto that and click more. And then if we scroll down, layout and design, and there's a slider here. So that puts in a slider. It'll have 3 empty slides. And so the slider needs at least 3 different things on it. Any less than 3 and weird things happen because it needs the ability to have one slide on the screen and one slide either side so that when it starts sliding, whichever way it has content available. So 3 is the minimum. So you need, if you only have 2 things you want to display on a slider, you need to have 4 slides and repeat them, if that makes sense. So slide 1 and 3 would be the same, and slide 2 and 4 would be the same if it's only 2 different things that you're trying to show. So slide 1, you could add an image. And so for the slider itself, we can set the aspect on the slider and it'll automatically set the aspect on all the images inside of it. So we can have a particular shape, and then yeah, here, image, different image, slide 3, image, different image. And then, I mean, we could also have a video, I suppose, on one of the slides as well. Probably only on the first slide, I think. I think if you put the video on the subsequent slides, a lot of people probably aren't going to get there. Or just replace the whole slider with a video if you've got a video of something interesting. But yeah, that's a quick way of setting up something dynamic and moving. And again, you'll want to have a look at the speed, the interval, and then whether you want it to slide or fade. They're the main. And then here, whether you want the dots on the bottom or the arrows to show. So here we've got nothing. It's all turned off on this particular one. Yes. Yeah, so with this panel here, for instance, we change the padding to custom, and then we can set an amount. So we could do a larger padding around the sides to push the image inwards. With the padding, you can also set the padding for the different screen sizes. So we could have even more padding, say on a desktop where the screen is much larger. And then when you're in mobile, where it's gone, we've got 45, the less padding. Because obviously, as the screen gets smaller, you'll need less padding to have a similar impact.
side, top, and bottom. Should say. Yeah. It's round.
Yes, we look at the preview of that. So now I've got a nice border around it with the background of the panel. And if the panel didn't have a background, then no one would be able to see. Set this back to plain, then yeah, it just gives you that breathing space around the image. That one we have the opacity set. I suppose the other thing worth mentioning just with images is the system knows that this is only ever going to be displayed in a box this big, so it will automatically resize and optimize this image for wherever it's used. So when you are uploading images, it is always good if you have the option to upload an image around 2000 or 2500 pixels along the width of the image. That way you can still use a full screen, but the system will automatically scale that down to fit into smaller areas. And you'll basically never have to worry about someone seeing a really blurred version of the image. If you upload small ones and you forget and then you put them somewhere where they're full screen on the homepage or something, they're not going to look that professional.
It's just asking.
Yeah, so with the padding, it's on panels, and the columns and the grid all have the same options. So once you've got this highlighted, there's a normal padding, which is 15 either side, nothing at the top and the bottom. There's no padding, so the image will be the full size of the panel, and which is, if you're using a background color or a border or something, that can be useful. And then there's the custom padding on this bar here. And then when you want to edit the size of that custom padding, you need the second button. Click on that, and that will open up and let you choose the actual values for the four sides for the padding. Whether
just playing through different elements and showing different each. Just showing the different kind of tool image.
Yeah, so like things like a button, got what it's linked to, style of it, so what color it is, has it got radiuses, all that sort of stuff. We've got the text on the button itself, so what that text reads, and the left and right icons. For a heading, we've just got what it's linked to. You can have it linked to another page or an anchor or wherever it needs to be, which heading size it is. So maybe it's much smaller heading. Bad example. So heading 6 we tend to use for other things. So heading 1 to 5s are normally in sort of as they get bigger as you get towards the heading 1. Heading 1's your main heading, heading 2's your subheadings, heading 3's your subheadings, etc. And then the alignment of those headings, left, right, centered on different screen sizes. Yeah. And so from a SEO, I suppose, point of view too, the heading 1 is the most important heading on the page, and it's the one that should translate to Google what the page is about. So if you do have don't use the headings. Don't use a heading 1 and write something in it that has nothing that doesn't really capture what the page is about, I guess, is if you're worried about or trying to improve the SEO of the page. If you look at an image, again, we've got the alignment. We talked about before. If you align it, you can control its size. If it's a small image and you align it, it will just be that size. If it's only a 150 or 200 pixel thumbnail or something, and you use the alignment, it'll automatically start off at that sort of the natural width of the image, the original width, and then you can shrink it even further if you like. We can choose a different image for that particular element, switch it out for something else. There's a filter option which lets the system automatically pick up an image, and I'm not going to go into the details on that right now, but that's probably more when you're designing layouts and things that you that's very useful. What the image is linked to, the forced aspect we talked about before. When you do have a forced aspect, there's also some quick positioning, so you could just quickly always take the top of the image or always take the bottom, the center, and then you've obviously got the freedom in here to then fine tune the adjustment. The transitions for images, this just gives a bit of dynamic movement. So this will scale, so you're 1.2, it'll sort of blow it up 1.2 times when you bring the mouse over it. It only works in the live part of the site. And the opacity watermark, so that includes another image, like stamps this image with another image. That might be your brand or your website address or something, just so make it harder for people to steal your images or reuse them somewhere else. Correct. So the separator is just really a spacer or a separator, and if it is a separator line, in the style here, we can change the line appearance. So we could create a different colored line or a thicker line by using the border controls here. So this is a 1 pixel thick, so a very fine line. We could make it thick line, we could make it dashed, and we can also change the color of it to any color. We can create a new color. But that's it for the separator. And so anything where you see this style, it's where you can go in and add more, like customize it to suit your particular website. And then the grid. So the grid again has the well, we can add and remove the rows, the items per row. We can change the padding, so no padding, everything's touching each other. Custom padding, and then we can get into here and fiddle with the padding, maybe not much smaller, just a 5. Don't want as much gap between them. Or maybe want much more gap between them. And so that's what that's for. And then there's the width. This only matters when it's the top, like the overall element on the page. So by default, grids and panels and things want to have a gutter at about 1200 pixels, so that things in there are sort of a consistent width even when you've got much larger screens viewing the site. But there are times when you want that to be the full width of the site, like touching both sides, because you've got something interesting to show people. So that's the main difference there. And then also the alignment. So whether it's things sit at the top or the bottom or in the middle. So if you've got things of different sizes, maybe the middle will look good, because if we just make this a bit small. Just turn the padding off for a second so you can see. So that's aligned to the middle, the bottom, or the top. And so that's for each row of the grid, and also for panels with multiple columns inside them. So this panel here, same thing, everything's lined at the top. You can have it middle, and it doesn't quite make sense here, but now the contents of the 2 columns are lined up in the middle, and then the bottom. So everything's touching the bottom. Nothing, whichever one's shorter will have nothing at the top. But feel free to explore all these and just play around with them. I mean, you can change anything and then just click out of it, not to save it, if you're not sure what happened. Like if you didn't get the result you're expecting, or not sure how to undo what you changed.
That I went round. So
Like this one. Again, that's got a style on it. The style's got the background image. I think it's see how as you scroll, it sort of moves. inside the panel. Yeah, that's true. So that's called a parallax effect, and it's an option you can choose when you're setting up the style for a panel. But here we've got text left, image right. So that's the panel with 2 columns. We've got a big panel here with the background on it, and so that's full width. It's touching the screen sides, and then we've got another 2-column panel, image flipped around the other way. Like the first column's got the image and the second column's got the text. Yeah.
So we almost running on 80-30 well,
yeah, we'll talk a bit more about the design and how the filter system lets you bring in items like news posts or products and other items basically from the left menu here into your pages or your categories or into the layouts of those. Anyway, that's lots more there.
Set up
yeah, well, I think that wraps it all up. Thanks everyone for attending. You can definitely still reach out to us via email or the form on our website if you've got any other ideas of things you'd like covered in a webinar. And we'll see you next time.